A very good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for this essential session on Beyond the Brain, how your gut impacts your body. In today's fast-paced world, it's more important than ever to understand the critical role of gut health in our well-being. Our expert speaker for today's session, HARSH DOSHI from HUGG Beverages, will provide valuable insights on the topic, discussing the importance of gut health, the impact of diet and lifestyle choices, and practical strategies for improving gut health. Harsh Doshi is the co-founder at HUGG Beverages and the representative of the Indian Association of Functional Medicine. He has spent 5 years creating solutions for gut health using traditional fermented Indian foods. His beverages, Kalmek Bitters and Mango Leaf Tonic, have been tried by 11,000 plus families to bring relief in conditions ranging from bloating to hyperacidity to diabetes. A warm welcome to you, Harsh, and thank you so much for taking time and joining us this afternoon. And without any further delay, I would like to hand over the floor to you. Over to you, Harsh.
Thank you so much, Venkat. So like Venkat said, my name is Harsh, and I'm the co-founder at HUGG Beverages. I've spent now more than half a decade looking very deeply at what the gut actually means. Going beyond just constipation, digestion, bloating, but trying to understand what role the stomach, the liver, the pancreas, your intestine, and your colon plays in your overall health. Today, I'm going to talk to you about probably one of the most exciting areas of research that not just us, but researchers around the world are taking, which is how can you use your gut to feel more calm, more productive, and more focused. Specifically, I'm going to talk about the relationship between the gut and the brain so that you get an understanding of how you can use one to manipulate another. So before I get into what I have planned for you this session, I want to know a little bit more about what you expect from this session. So while we're waiting for a few more people to join, I can see the number of participants is going up. Just take a moment and in the chat box, give me a few of the things that you want to know about from this session. Are there any questions that you have in mind right now that you're hoping to get answered in the next 1 hour? So just take a moment and jot that down in the chat box. I want to take a look at what you're expecting today. I'm waiting. Any question that you have in mind that you want an answer to? What good brain food is, a diet plan for better gut health, anything that comes in mind. All right, there's one. Vitamin deficiency such as B12 and D. We'll address these. We still have time. People are joining. Feel free to write. Superb. All right. Yep. How gut health affects stress levels. I think when I show you what I am going to today, this particular question will definitely be answered. And it's in ways you might not even have imagined, which is what makes it so exciting. How is functional medicine related? All right, superb. I'll share a bit on that too. Keep going. The more you tell me now, the more I understand how to cater the session so that you get the most value out of your time. Okay, pros and cons of gut health. All right, here's what some very interesting questions too. All right, so we're going to talk about a few different things. Here's what I have sort of set up for the session itself today. I'm going to talk about 3 aspects. One is the key link between your brain and your gut, which is emotions. I'm going to ask some pretty probing questions to explain what type of emotions can have what type of effect on your gut, your brain, and other parts of your body. So much of this research is new. So when you hear it for the first time, you may not even believe it. The second thing that I'm going to explain to you is that fixing your brain or your emotional status or your stress is not a mental effort. You don't only have to apply pressure to mentally change the way you're thinking or suddenly develop willpower by watching inspirational videos. There is a more practical, definitive, established, and proven way of improving your stress levels. And I'm going to show you how. And that's part 3. when scientists and researchers have spent more than $2 billion trying to understand this relationship, they've only come up with one answer. And that one answer is the technique that I'm going to share with you at the end of the presentation. In fact, for everybody that stays, there's another additional piece of surprise. I'm going to share, curate for the first time, a list of 100 ingredients with the impact that they will have on your gut and on your brain. It's an entire PDF that I will be sharing with everybody who stays absolutely to the very end. So let's sort of get right into it, right? Like I said, the aim, at the end of this presentation, I'm hoping that you have a clear method to feel focused, calm, and productive without any medicine, without any supplements. So I'm going to get straight into it. And the way I'm going to start is I'm going to start with emotions. I wanted to understand the reason we have an emotion in the first place. Imagine you saw a tiger in the wild. The body's natural emotion is fear. And it makes sense because if you're not afraid, that tiger is going to eat you. But that fear changes your entire body makeup. Your heart, for example, will start beating much faster. Why? So that blood, oxygen, nutrients can start to go to the muscles. You never know. You might have to run, in which case you need your legs. You might have to fight the tiger if you can't run, in which case you might need your hands and your brain. Your blood sugar will go up slightly. Why? Because you need energy, right? You need energy to be able to carry out these activities. The physiology of your eyes and your vision changes. You start blurring out things on your sides and you only start focusing on what's in front. Again, because you want to make sure that if that tiger attacks, you know how to do what you need to do. You're focused. You're not looking elsewhere. You start sweating because the body starts to overheat with all this excess energy so that you don't have other complications. You can see how one single emotion, fear, is not just affected the mind, it's affected the entire physiology of the body. Every single thing. Now, what's funny is that the body is designed so beautifully that you can feel these things even without the actual tiger being there. So what scientists and researchers have figured out is that you don't need the tiger to be there. If you believe mentally that tiger hai, there is something in front of me that I'm afraid of, your body will react in the exact same way. Your heart will start beating faster. You'll start sweating. You might have palpitations. Your hands might start shivering. All of these are changes that you will experience even if the tiger is not actually there, just because you believe that there is a tiger. Now, what do I mean by that? Think back to a work presentation or a boss that you might not like or a boss that you're afraid of. Your body reacts in the exact same way. The way we live today is that there are tigers around us everywhere, not real ones, make-believe ones. Hamare dimag mein, it's completely psychological. But the effect of that is across the body. One of the obvious things it affects is digestion. And I'm going to show you how. But before I get there, I want to distinguish between what I'm saying, because this is really important. I'm not talking about fear of rats or rabbits or snakes. अगर वो आएगा, आपको डर लगेगा, वो चला जाएगा, the matter is over. I'm talking about deeper fear that human beings are designed today to carry, that we don't let go of. And I'm going to show this to you. I'm going to do a small experiment. This will be personal, so I don't want you to share your answers. जरूरी नहीं है कि आप आपके जवाब chat box में लिखो. But I do want you to think about the questions that I'm asking you right now. I want you to think about this question. Today, right now, are you afraid? The question is, afraid of what? Right? Are you afraid of failure? Are you afraid of failing, for example, to provide for your family? A lot of people feel like this. Are you afraid of failing to be a good partner, for example, for your spouse or parents for your child? Maybe you feel inadequate, not good enough. Are you afraid of failing at your career? These fears are not small. If they remain unresolved, they become a permanent part of our psyche. In the tiger example, it's like being afraid all the time, which means your body is always in this state where the heart is beating faster, where blood sugar is elevated, where your vision is compromised. Think about these questions deeply and answer them honestly. Are you afraid of this particular type of failure? I'll give you another example. Are you afraid of rejection? The number one is I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not good enough to be with my partner. Maybe I'm not good enough to get that promotion. These fears, we keep repeating them to ourselves again and again, and they become part of our psychological makeup. When they do, your entire body operates in that one state. You're not being able to execute on anything else. You can't be the normal self because you're operating in a different state completely and altogether. I'll give you another one. Are you afraid of losing? This is so common. Are you afraid of losing control of things around you? Are you afraid of losing the people you love? If your child has just gone to college, are you afraid of losing one of your friends? There are so many things that suddenly stick with us as humans. And when we don't process them properly, they start becoming a part of our permanent psyche. Again, take a moment and just think about these questions and ask yourself, am I afraid? Because if the answer is yes, I'm going to show you what it's doing to your gut, to your body, and to your life. I'll give you another example, right? Fear is one emotion because we spoke about it with the tiger. Anger is another one I commonly see in people today. Are you angry? Are you angry because of injustice? In COVID, I know so many people that have lost their loved ones, and they're angry because it feels unfair. जिनका टाइम था नहीं जाने के लिए उनको भी जाना पड़ा, and you feel like you've been left alone. Your loved ones have gone away. Are you angry because you've lost a promotion because of a bad boss? आपने आपके साइड से सब कुछ किया. You've done everything you could have done, but your boss did not recognize your contribution, or some other colleague को उसने promote कर दिया because they had a good relationship. If this leads to small types of anger, that every time you walk into the office, it triggers it one more time. When you see those two people, it will trigger it one more time. Are you angry because of betrayal? You feel cheated by somebody, you feel exposed by somebody, you feel backstabbed by somebody. किसी ने कुछ बोला था लेकिन किया नहीं, कि मेरे दोस्त ने मेरे साथ ऐसा किया. These all emotions are very primal. शायद हमें लगता है कि we feel it in that one moment. But unless this is resolved, unless we speak about it, unless we address it, this becomes permanent. And it starts to affect our behavior in so many different ways. One of the main ways is it affects your psychology and your physiology, physically in your body. It's like the example I gave earlier. It's like you're seeing a tiger all the time. I'm showing you how these two different emotions affect your body differently. And take a look, it's not the same result. This was when people were trying to say what is activated in the body. Fear, you're activating your brain, your chest, nothing in your arms, for example. But anger, you're activating the entire top half of the body, and it's very hot. So your emotion is creating an actual change in the body. And when you look at this from a gut standpoint, fear normally leads to fast, loose stools. उसका भी लॉजिक है. अगर आपके सामने टाइगर है, if you're looking at a tiger in front of you, आपको या तो उसको मारना है या भागना है. In both those cases, feeling heavy or feeling constipated does not help. So the body decides, let's remove whatever is in the digestive system so that we are prepared to fight or run from this animal. That is why normally people who remain afraid or very anxious, उनकी stool quality बहुत पतली रहती है. मतलब वो form ही नहीं होता. It's very fast, loose stools. And this affects digestion as well. Anger is very different. It's exactly opposite. Anger में हम क्या करते हैं? We keep everything inside. सब choke करके रखते हैं, it's like a pressure cooker. In the same way, your body tends to keep everything inside. So the pattern we see clinically is that people that are afraid have loose stools, and people that are angry typically are constipated. They're choked up. मतलब सब कुछ जाम होके पैक हो गया. I've just given you examples of two sets of emotions. I've only spoken about two right now, anger and fear. Look at the number of different emotions there are. Disgust, happiness, sadness, surprise, shame, pride, contempt, depression, love. Every emotion activates the body in a different way. Every single emotion has a different impact on how you feel, how your body is, and what your body does. Now, before I go forward, right, I'm going to explain the next step of why all this is important. I'm going to take a quick pause. Are you guys with me? Are you following the pattern and what I'm trying to explain right now? And if yes, just give me a quick yes in the chat box. So just give me like a quick, you're with me on the same page. All right, superb. Absolutely incredible. When you take this data to a psychologist or a therapist, or even to a lay person, even if you go to Google and write this, the recommendation is ki dar mitao, to speak to yourself, ki meditation karo. And it's not wrong. That is important. Wahan se to problem chalu hota hai. But what I'm going to show you in this presentation is that that is not the only way. There is another approach altogether by which you can make a massive difference in your willpower, in your focus, in your productivity, in the level of anxiety you feel daily. And this is what we call the gut-brain axis. The idea is fairly straightforward. The idea is that for every one signal that your brain sends to your gut sends 9 signals back. Just think about that for one moment. अगर एक हाईवे होता है 10 लेन का, तो एक लेन बॉम्बे से दिल्ली जा रही है, 9 लेन दिल्ली से बॉम्बे वापस आ रही है. One signal your brain sends your gut, 9 your gut sends back. Which means that working on your gut can be a very, very effective way to change your mental makeup. There are multiple things you can do just from your gut standpoint, which will change how much stress you feel, how calm and confident you feel, how composed you feel. I want to share one of those techniques with you today. And the whole point of this presentation is stop fixing from the brain. अगर आपकी मम्मी फॉर एग्जांपल उठ के चलना नहीं चाहती, शी इज नॉट इन्वेस्टिंग इन एन एक्सरसाइज, स्टॉप ट्राइंग टू कन्विंस हर अगेन एंड अगेन कि करो 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 करो. देयर इज अनदर अप्रोच एंड इट्स फ्रॉम योर गट. दैट्स व्हाट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट टुडे. So this is the old way, right? This is what you would have expected in this presentation. अगर मैंने ये presentation 5 साल पहले दिया था, this is what you would have expected. कि there are some brain boosting foods, there are some brain draining foods. ये खाइए, ये मत खाइए, you'll have a wonderful time. It doesn't work. If this was the case, everybody would be living great. सबका brain sharp होता, बादाम या ब्रह्मी खा के. It doesn't work. There is a different approach, and this is the new way. You need to feed your gut microbes. You need to feed your gut bacteria. In your body right now, there are more than 10 times the bacteria than there are human cells. Most people on this webinar, you must be familiar with this concept. Okay, gut health does not mean pet saaf. We are talking about your gut bacteria. It is a population of bacteria in your colon which eats a lot of your leftover food. The trick to improve gut-brain axis is to improve your gut bacteria population. So I also want to quickly talk just about the brain for a second. The brain is a very important organ. So आप ये मत सोचिए कि आपने कुछ खा लिया और सीधा brain में चला जाएगा. It doesn't work like that. In fact, it's one of the rare organs that has a barrier around it. सोचो ये दीवार की तरह, it's like a fence. और ये fence में सबसे छोटे molecules only pass through. If it's a big molecule, it will not pass. वो आगे जाएगा ही नहीं. So if you look at the line in between on the screen in front of you, those are your large molecules. वो क्रॉस ही नहीं कर पाते, वो दरवाजा बहुत छोटा है वो फेंस में. This is called the blood-brain barrier. Only the small molecules go through. These small molecules affect the brain. They affect how you feel. They affect emotions. They affect how much energy the brain gets. ये छोटे molecules, majority बनते हैं by gut bacteria. वो खाने से नहीं मिलते. The food you eat does not make these molecules. The food your gut bacteria eats makes these molecules. And that is why the new approach of improving your mental and physical health is by feeding your gut bacteria. Again, I'll take a pause right now because I understand it's becoming slightly scientific. Are you guys still with me? I mean, everybody on the same page? All right, superb. If there are any questions, I will leave a lot of time to answer them all one by one. So don't worry about that. But so far, the crux is till date, we have always been taught कि हमें शरीर को खिलाना है, right? The body needs to eat. But the whole pattern of thinking is changing कि शरीर को मत खिलाओ, आपके बैक्टीरिया को खिलाओ, वो शरीर का ध्यान रखेंगे. You feed your bacteria and your bacteria will take care of your body. So now the next natural question comes, right? कि बैक्टीरिया खाता क्या है? What is it कि जो हम नहीं खा सकते कि बैक्टीरिया खाता है? And let me quick, where is my, there. So quickly, this is what I was talking about from the gut-brain axis standpoint. Again, just take a step back, right? So here आपके bacteria है at the bottom of the screen. You can see that when food comes, वो bacteria वो खाना को खाते हैं, and then they release it into the blood. And then from the blood, those small molecules go inside the brain, and it affects your brain. Right? So, like I said, what do gut bacteria eat? And the answer is complex carbs. You have carbohydrates, you have proteins, and you have fats. उसमें से बैक्टीरिया प्रिफर्स कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स, पर कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स में भी दो तरह के रहते हैं, एक सिंपल एंड कॉम्प्लेक्स. सिंपल इज लाइक ग्लूकोज, इट गोज स्ट्रेट इनटू द बॉडी, मतलब वो गट बैक्टीरिया तक पहुंचता ही नहीं है. लेकिन व्हेन इट्स अ कॉम्प्लेक्स कार्बोहाइड्रेट, द बॉडी कैन नॉट ब्रेक इट डाउन एज एफिशिएंटली, एंड द रिजल्ट is that it goes to your gut bacteria. The gut bacteria eat it, and then they start creating compounds which affect your brain. Now the next natural question needs to be कि कौन से खाने में complex carbs मिलेंगे, कि मुझे कल से क्या खाना चालू करना चाहिए, what should I start eating from tomorrow that will improve my complex carb makeup. You will not believe the answer when I give it to you. Everything natural has complex carbs. Every single thing. अगर कोई भी चीज पौधा से निकला है, if it's come out of a plant, it's got complex carbs, which means every natural thing you eat, उसमें से कुछ आपकी बॉडी में जाएगा और कुछ आपके गट बैक्टीरिया में जाने वाला है. This is the untold secret, that anything around you which is natural, unprocessed, will feed your gut bacteria. Anything around you. And the things around you which are natural, unprocessed, will inevitably power your mind, your gut, your brain, and your overall mental well-being. Now, again, I'm going to show you, why you are not doing that today. Do a simple experiment. Take a pen, piece of paper, and do this with me. Across your day, count how many plants are you actually eating. समझो कि सुबह आपने you've had an egg with spinach and mushrooms. So spinach is 1, mushrooms is 2. So आपका score 2 हुआ. Let's say दोपहर में for lunch you had आलू भिंडी की सब्जी. आलू means potato 3, भिंडी okra 4, 4 हुआ. ऐसे count कीजिए. Count throughout the day. Do the exercise once with me. Count throughout the day. How many different ingredients are you actually eating? And I wanted to answer sort of which of these buckets you fall into. Is it less than 15? Is it less than 30? Or is it more than 30? Yeah, keep telling me. Bucket 1, bucket 2, bucket 3. And take a look at the chat. आप आपके chat में देखिए. Look at the number of people that are saying bucket 1. It's not stopped. People are still writing and keep going. This is very encouraging, by the way. When you're so engaged in participating, it's really exciting even to present. So keep going, and take a look. You're not alone. देखिए how many people are in bucket 1. ये आपके सामने, it's live. It will keep going. There are more than 200 people on the chat, and I will personally guarantee you 150 plus are going to be in bucket 1. There is a reason for this. We've started eating the same foods daily. Everybody eats roti, rice, egg, sabji, dal. We don't have time to make fancy meals, big meals. So जो चीज़ हम बनाते हैं वही regular हो जाता है. So it means कि your gut is not getting any diversity only. वो एक ही तरह का complex carb और वो उतना ही amount of complex carb आपके शरीर को मिल रहा है. You're not being able to go past that only. So if you want to fuel your brain, you need to fuel your bacteria. If you want to fuel your bacteria, you need to give it the right food. वो food मिलेगा कहाँ से? It's going to be by eating a larger variety of complex carbs. And that is the billion-dollar solution for you. If from tomorrow onwards, you move from one bucket to the next, notice how you start feeling. Now, it doesn't matter what you eat, as long as it is natural. What do I mean by natural? Agar kal subah uthe ke, you decide that you want to eat, let's say, one bowl of dahi, maybe two types of seeds, like pine seeds, maybe some chia seeds. Let's say three types of dry fruit, cashew nut, pistachio, peanut. 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 6 already ho gaya aapka. You've already added 6 new ingredients. Your target starting tomorrow onwards needs to be to move from one bucket to the next. Try to add 10 to 15 new items every day, such that ke pure din mein you eat at least 30 items that are different in nature and variety. That's it. The diversity of ingredients which will be coming into your body will be unbelievable. Different colors, different flavors, different types of complex carbs. Itna sara fuel milega that your gut bacteria will be able to process it unbelievably well. And they take care of the rest. This, by the way, is not voodoo science. This is the only recommendation that every single gut researcher on the planet will give you. This is what they came up with after they spent $2 billion studying this industry. That the only thing that seems to work is diversity. How many plants are you eating daily? Now let's be clear about something. Some things do not count. अगर आपने पार्ले-जी और बिस्किट खाया, it does not count. It's not natural. अगर आपने कोई fried cheese खाई जैसे समोसा, it does not count. It's not natural. Whatever is in its natural format, even if it's a fruit, keri, ras, chas, it doesn't matter. Whatever is in its natural format, eat that. And that will count as one ingredient. Now, another point of caution which I want to give right now, right? Which is, I think you should not be worried too much about quantity. It doesn't matter कि आपने 10 keri खाए कि 1 keri खाया. One means one. You are only counting the number of ingredients, the quantity that you're eating in diversity. You are not counting how much of one ingredient you are eating. This is vital to a distinction to make. From tomorrow onwards, if you increase your number of ingredients from 15 to 30, the changes that you will experience are incredible. Now, I like this recommendation for one reason. On this webinar, people are from everywhere. North se, west se, east se, south se. मैं खुद बॉम्बे से बात कर रहा हूँ. मेरे बाजू में what's available, it's not necessary कि आपके बाजू में भी वही available है. I might have French beans and avocados. आपके लिए शायद वो नहीं है. So whatever is available next to you, just take that. But you start from tomorrow itself. And try to influence even the other people in your household. You will not believe how much difference this will make. First difference, पहले 3 में आपको फर्क पता चलेगा आपके स्टूल क्वालिटी में. अगर आज आपका मोशन बराबर नहीं आ रहा है या पेट साफ नहीं हो रहा है, वो फीलिंग नहीं हो रही satisfaction की, the first place you will notice a difference is there. You will not believe how much better your stool comes formed. एक ही बार बैठोगे और पेट साफ हो जाएगा. You'll feel wonderful. आपका दिन ही अच्छा चालू होगा. The second difference you'll feel is energy. वो जो bloating वाली feeling होती है ना, fullness वाली feeling, that will start to become less on its own. And the third thing you'll notice, which is perhaps the most interesting, is your mind. It's so weird, but you will suddenly start feeling like you don't get distracted. अगर आप काम कर रहे हो ना और phone बजा, you won't even look. You'll just feel more in control. It's almost as if वो जो restlessness रहता है ना, वो impatience, it will start to subside on its own. Now, there's a lot of science behind this, and a lot of science is still being explored also. But I'm not getting into any of that because it's not consequential right now. What's more important is the feeling. If you can feel like this by making such a simple change in your diet daily, why would you not do it? There's absolutely no reason not to do it. Now, the change and the difference that I want to talk about is that not all ingredients are the same. There are definitely some ingredients that will give you a better result and some ingredients which will give you a less better result. All are good, but some give you an even better result. I've specifically curated this list of almost 100 ingredients beans, grains, fruits, vegetables, etc., where I've ranked them. So the serving size on one side, and then the percentage. Okay, what percentage of that actually will go to your gut bacteria to feed them? You can see, for example, kidney beans mein 21% is going to the gut bacteria. Navy beans mein 25% is going to the gut bacteria, which means that the chance that it will give you a good result is higher. However, keep one thing in mind. अगर आपने suddenly ये सब चालू किया बहुत ही ज़्यादा quantity में, not small pieces but very large pieces, you will start to feel bloated. You will feel very gassy because your body is not used to it. So start small. Increase the quantity. 15 से 30 कर दीजिए. But don't increase how much you're eating of every food a lot. Start small. Half an orange, half an apple. Then after 3 days, full apple, etc. But every food item has a different way of reacting. I'm coming to the end of the presentation right now. This list I'm going to share with you completely. It's actually an exclusive for the 200 people on this webinar only. And the way you get it is I'm going to share a link. You just need to put in your email address and you'll get the list directly on email the moment you've entered it. I think, Venkat, if you can just share the link directly on the chat, I'm sure people can access it and they will get the link directly from there. All right, with that, that's the end of my at least assigned presentation. I would imagine that you have a lot of questions that you want to ask. So let's start throwing them one by one into the chat box, and it'll be wonderful for me to take those questions up piece by piece. I'm just going to share the link once quickly myself so that everybody is on the same page. It's called The Case by gethug.com. I've just shared the link. Take a look. You can sign up and then you can take it forward from there. All right, super. Venkat, do you want to moderate maybe the questions?
Yes, Harsh. Before we quickly move to the Q&A section, so I would like to take this opportunity to launch a feedback poll so that it helps that how everyone liked the session, and also it helps us to curate many more sessions like this. So the poll has been launched, and while the poll runs, if anyone wants to ask any question to her, you can raise your hands so that I can move you to panel. You can talk to him directly, and also you can put your questions in the chat box. I'll be reading it out for you. And Harsh, we have a couple of hands raised. So yeah, we'll move them to the panel so that they'll be asking the questions.
All right, super. Venkat, do you want me to take the questions one by one because I can see them, or do you want to have the start? All right, super. So just as a quick reminder, because I'm getting a lot of messages to the host directly right now, I've put the link one more time in the chat box. If you click on the link and enter your email address, the whole PDF will come to you. It's the easiest way for me to send it to you without sending it one by one. So that should answer the question. If you don't have the link, just message me one more time and I'll send it to you directly. All right. So a couple of things, right? I can see one question is from Mr. Asim, which is which low calorie sweeteners do not affect gut bacteria? Unfortunately, we don't have that answer just yet. There are two types of sweeteners. One which is entirely plant-based, like sucralose, and one which is altered chemically, like you remove a certain atom and you add chlorine or bromine. That's things that typically end in OL. We call them polyols. Everything that ends in OL seems to have an effect on gut bacteria, and that's a negative effect. It can ruin your mucous membrane. It can affect the lining of your digestive system. And more interestingly, it does not let gut bacteria break it down. So from an artificial sweetener standpoint, I'm using the word artificial, not low calorie, artificial sweetener, I wouldn't recommend any of them. Lots of things have them today, right? Beverages have them. High protein ice creams have them. So be a little wary of them. They're very good for your tongue. They taste nice, but they ruin your gut health inside. So keep that in mind. All right. Does gut bacteria help in reducing fat? Sorry, I see somebody has raised their hand.
So Pallavi, if you can hear me, you can unmute yourself. You can ask your question. Or Ganesh, if you can hear me, you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question directly. Pallavi, you there? Pallavi and Ganesh.
Yeah, I'm audible.
Yes.
Yes, so मुझे पूछना था कि मतलब नॉर्मल हम वेजिटेबल्स जो लेते हैं तो उसमें पेस्टिसाइड्स ज़्यादा रहता है, तो वो मोस्टली यूज़ होता है, 99% तो यूज़ होता है, तो उसको न्यूट्रलाइज कैसे कर सकते हैं हम लोग अगर इतना ज़्यादा क्वांटिटी में पेस्टिसाइड्स वगैरह कुछ वेजिटेबल्स खाना है तो?
So the logic is कि most pesticides have an acid base. मतलब उसका जो main base structure रहता है is acidic.
राइट.
So if you use something alkaline, वो neutralize हो जाता है. Right? This is the theoretical logic.
राइट.
Which is why a lot of people will say कि sodium bicarbonate, ENO वगैरह कुछ डाल दीजिए आपके vegetables में. मतलब you soak your vegetables in water और फिर आप वो डाल दीजिए. And ideally, most of the pesticide will be removed from the vegetable and it will remain in the water. So फिर आप vegetable निकाल के एक बार अलग से धो के you can eat it. Now this is the expected theoretical answer. This does not always work. कोई vegetables में बहुत सारे crevices रहते हैं तो वहाँ भी pesticides रह जाता है. कहीं pesticide का use इतना ज़्यादा करते हैं कि it's not you can't remove it using something so simple. और कहीं pesticide अभी ऐसे base में आते हैं जो acidic नहीं रहते हैं. This might not even apply. So to answer the question, there is no foolproof method.
Okay.
Right? What I know, मैंने जो sodium bicarbonate की बात की, वो मेरे खुद के घर में मैं करता हूँ. Which is why that's what I normally recommend because वो सस्ता है, easy है, and it at least it gives you some level of safety.
Okay. हाँ.
Thank you so much. All right, I'm seeing a lot of people are asking a lot of questions in the chat, so I'm just going to go through them in the chat one by one, and I'm starting from wherever I see it. Which regular over-the-counter medicines affect gut bacteria? All of them, absolutely all of them. The biggest one is NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Think like ibuprofen, for example. This is horrible for gut bacteria. आपने एक बार painkiller लिया, maybe half or 30% of your gut bacteria will be wiped out. फिर आपको वापस 2-3 दिन में वो regenerate करना पड़ता है. और वो होगा, it happens on its own. अगर आपकी body strong है, तो खुद ब खुद वापस भी आ जाएगा. But make no mistake, every single drug that you take over the counter affects your gut bacteria. The worst is antibiotics, then NSAIDs, blood sugar ki dawa, blood pressure ki dawa, har dawa affects your gut bacteria. There's no question about it. Santosh ji is asking, you've mentioned about different emotions, which are wired according to our thinking. By feeding gut bacteria, how is that going to help apart from the health benefits you've mentioned? All right. Let me answer this question differently. When somebody is depressed, the number one medicine that's given to them today that's recommended is called an SSRI. It's called a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Serotonin is a molecule that you make in your body which is linked to positive feelings. So the concept from pharmacology was if we prevent or we allow the body to make more of serotonin, even depressed people will feel happy. Do you know where 90% of serotonin comes? It's made by gut bacteria. It's not made in the brain. It's made in your gut. Same thing applies to sleep. Melatonin, which is what you find in most sleeping pills, 400 times more melatonin you will find in your gut than in your pineal gland, which is the place that makes melatonin. So you can see your gut is not a small contributor to these neurotransmitters, or in melatonin's case, a hormone. It is a very large contributor. And because it is a large contributor, the changes that you make in the gut bacteria affect your brain, your mood, your health across the board. It's not just a question of better bowel movements. It is a question of literally a different feeling. I would be, and of course, I'm out on a limb when I'm saying this, but feeding your gut bacteria right can have the same effect that an intense workout session can have. The high or happiness that you feel, you can replicate that by having an incredibly great gut bacterial diversity and feed strength. All right. Okay, Sandhya ji is asking about the drink. I'll share a little bit more about our work slightly closer to the end. How to balance the medication and gut bacteria, it's really difficult. I mean, the simplest way, Purvaji, is you need to eat more. The diversity has to be very high because whatever the medicine is removing, you need to make sure you supplement that very, very quickly. All right. If a person gets sick regularly, how gut helps in recovery? It is the number one thing. It is the number one thing. I mean, think about it. Every time you put something in your mouth, your body is determining, is this good for me or bad for me? क्या ये अमृत है या जहर है? Because if it is zahar, you will be dead. So your body has developed immune system around your gut. And your gut is called, this is called GALT, G-A-L-T. Nearly 40 to 45% of all immune activity happens here. Because your body is always thinking, मुंह में डाला वो अच्छा मेरे लिए कि खराब है मेरे लिए. So if your gut is poor, your gut immune system is not good at all. It is also compromised, which means that 40% of your immunity is already not functioning at its best. So naturally you will start getting cold, flu, infections, etc. But this is a very preliminary understanding. Every single disease or disorder, especially when it comes to viral infections, the gut plays a very large role. By the way, a study shows that people that have larger diversity in their diet, that eat more fiber, actually feel less sick. They get sick less often than people that don't eat as much. All right. What does the blue energy signify in the presentation? It is a level of activity and less activity. So blue is where I'm feeling less activity and red is where I'm feeling more activity. You said to eat more raw plant thing. No, I did not use the word raw. I said plant. Whether it's cooked or uncooked is not consequential. In fact, I would prefer it slightly cooked because raw food, sabko nahi pachta. It's not easy to digest. So you can eat cooked, that's fine. You need to eat plants. Raw does not matter. I'm not saying eat salad all the time. Eggs contribute? No. So someone has asked, do eggs contribute 0% to gut health? No, that's not the case. Eggs don't have complex carbs in any significant quantity that can influence gut bacteria. But it does not mean that they don't influence gut bacteria. They have other pathways of doing that. For example, if you do not digest the protein from an egg, that protein goes to the gut bacteria, then the gut bacteria has to metabolize that. So eggs can affect gut bacteria, but what we're looking at there is only from a complex carb standpoint. So that part's one. How do you identify whether our gut bacteria is good or poor? So there are so you can do two things. You can do a microbiome test that typically costs 9,000, 10,000 rupees, etc. If you're interested in who's doing that test, I'll share the details. But the simpler way of doing it is look at your stool quality. If your stool quality is yellow, your gut bacteria is weak. If your stool quality is loose, it's not formed properly, your gut bacteria is weak. If your stool quality is very sticky, your gut bacteria is weak. So always start by looking at your stool quality. If it smells, by the way, that's not an indication that gut bacteria is weak. It means you're not being able to digest something. So whatever your stool says tells you a little bit more about what type of gut bacteria you have and where you need to work. In fact, at HUGG, the concept that we've launched is that we want to evaluate based on your stool quality and type, what intervention we can make for your gut. And one of the outcomes of that is a product, is a consultation, etc. And like I said, I'll discuss some of those things towards the end. I want this session to be more value additive for you in terms of your questions. And of course, I'll discuss our offering and product later as well. Does non-vegetarian food contribute to gut bacteria? It does. Because there are many compounds in non-vegetarian food that are not broken down. They go to your gut and then they make a difference. Sometimes it's direct, sometimes it's indirect. Certain types of non-vegetarian food. So for example, let's say you're talking about chicken. If a chicken is eating feed, which is a probiotic, or they're eating feed which contains antibiotics or hormones, that becomes part of the chicken. That sometimes does not break down in our body and it goes to the gut. So you can see how non-vegetarian food can indirectly affect gut bacteria, not through the pathway that I'm talking about. Any suggestions on green tea? Is that countable? Yes, of course. Green tea is tea. It's a different type of plant ingredient. So if you drink green tea, you count it as one more ingredient. It's absolutely no issue. Eating more fibers can be sometimes boring. Any solution for that? Aniketji, people eat fibers in such interesting ways. You can make a pizza and fill it with vegetables on top. You can create different types of sandwiches, for example, and eat. You're thinking in your mind that it's raw. Don't make that mistake. A veg jalfrazi or mixed veg sabji also has a lot of fiber. So there's no question about, and a lot of plants actually. So don't think, okay, you need to change the diet to, salads and soups. I'm not discussing any of that. I'm saying eat wide and eat whatever you like as long as it is natural. I'm moving through again towards the top. Does gut bacteria affect belly fat? You will not believe how it affects belly fat. I'll give you a simple example. If you start increasing your daily quantity of fruits and vegetables, I mean, like more specifically plants, to 30 in a day, start noticing how loose your belly starts to become. You won't lose fat, but you'll see that tightness, that things that were very hard and they were in place will suddenly start to become much looser. It is the first sign that your body has started to change its physiology because your gut bacteria has changed. Said simply, today we are currently carb fueled. Hum carbs khate hain, refined sugars, this, that, fats, and we are fueled by it. Hamari energy source wo hai. I'm asking you to make that shift to becoming fiber fueled, to give so much fuel to your gut bacteria that they run the whole show, they run the whole body. You don't need to apply your mind. Your gut bacteria has been with you for literally billions of years. Every single organism has gut bacteria. There is a reason. They're supposed to live with us in tandem. If we feed them well enough, the results can be extraordinary. All right, I'm sort of running through this. I'm going back to the bottom. All right. So is this the prime reason why people are turning to vegans? That's a very difficult and large question to answer. People turn to veganism for multiple reasons. Some people are animal lovers. They don't want to kill animals. Some people believe in this lifestyle. So there's a lot of reasons for why people are doing this. But for anybody that's a gut health specialist, when gut health is becoming the core area of work going forward, you will notice that almost all of them, or majority of them, are plant-based. They're all transforming their lifestyle to putting plants front and center as opposed to just meats. And the reason for doing this is what I said. You're feeding the most important part of your physiology that we just don't feed today. Take a look. Nearly 100 people have given us responses on the chat. 99% were ones, bucket one, which is less than 15. हम खिला ही नहीं रहे उसको कुछ. The moment you start feeding them, the results become truly, truly extraordinary. All right, so I've already mentioned this, right? That if you're taking medicines, you need to keep an eye on the number of different ingredients you're eating. Right? Just because you're held up in one place doesn't mean that you have to continue doing that. You need to increase diversity of your foods, try even including some fermented foods, and see how your gut bacteria population maintains itself. All right, interesting. I have gone through as many as I can in the chat, but if there are more questions that you have, again, feel free to just put them down on the chat once.
Harsh, we have a raised hand. So
all right.
If you can unmute yourself, you can ask your question. Bhavani, if you can unmute yourself, you can ask your question directly. So we have one more question in the chat box, that impact of mushrooms on gut bacteria.
So there is no superfood. There is no single concept of one food, say gut bacteria will suddenly become absolutely, it doesn't work like that. Because every food has a wide diversity of compounds that are provided. Mushrooms are good. That's all. They're not super, they're not bad, they're good. So if you're eating mushrooms, continue it. In fact, there's 7 or 8 different types of mushrooms commonly available in the Indian market. Mix it up, try different varieties, see how you feel with it. All right, I'm going to answer a question that came up top, right? Because people are asking, I think I'm getting a lot of personal questions right now around my practice and what we do. When we launched, a lot of people asked what probiotics to take, right? And I can see that those are some of the questions which are coming up now as well, right? Do probiotic veggies help or drinks help with gut bacteria? I'm going to give you some perspective. In a single probiotic drink, you will normally get maybe 1, 2, 7 different strains of bacteria. In your gut, there are more than 500, which means a probiotic will make less than 1% difference in your gut bacteria makeup. Even Harvard Health says that probiotics are not necessary for good gut health. Absolutely not necessary. When we launched, this was front and center for us. The probiotics aren't helping. We need something better. And most probiotics are things like kombucha, this, that, they're made for flavor and taste. They're not made to functionally improve the gut. Even Yakult for that matter. Yakult has made multiple claims around the strain of bacteria that it has. But for something with the level of sugar that it has, or with the level of milk, dairy that it has, there's a lot of questions around whether Yakult is actually supposed to be a healthy drink or not. So here is a gap that we identified. And we said, okay, there needs to be something which is made from Indian herbs, Indian vegetables that are fermented, not probiotic, just fermented. And the result was our drink that we call Kalmeg bitters. Kalmeg is designed as a single drink in the morning. It's a 100 ml shot that you take on an empty stomach. I'm actually just quickly going to leave a link. So anybody who wants to learn a bit more can definitely just explore that. Kalmeg bitters was designed to do two things. Inside Kalmeg bitters, we have used more than 330 different bioactive compounds, 330. All of them designed to go and feed your gut bacteria in mass. And the results that we see are incredible. The number one change is in bloating. People suddenly start feeling less gassy, they feel light. And the reason is because your gut bacteria is now getting that much stronger. The second change we see is in anxiety. So today, lots of psychologists, therapists actually recommend Kalmeg bitters to their patients at the beginning of the program because they don't want to just work on the mind with therapy. They want to work on the gut and the mind together to give you an even better result. So if you're undergoing a lot of anxiety, stress issues, etc., and you want to start with something easy, or you will see this gas problem, bloating problem, sticky stool problem, then I recommend you try Kalmeg bitters. On our website, the link I've just shared with you right now, you can start with a pack of 4 bottles. You don't need to purchase 24 bottles or 100 bottles or 3 months at a time. Start with 4 bottles. If it suits your body, you should see the difference in 4 days itself. Typically, we recommend anybody does this for at least 3 months to get the full result. But you should start seeing differences in the first 4 days itself. I've already shared the link in the chat box. If anybody wants to explore that, by all means do. And of course, if you have more questions around the subject, you can ask me as well. All right, lots of questions coming in one by one. Can patients with severe gastritis and taking antibiotics take this drink? Will it help in ovarian cyst? Does it have preservatives? Okay, number one, it doesn't have preservatives. From my entire conversation, you must have noticed that I'm a very, very strong proponent for natural. And I absolutely detest anything synthetic. The same thing applies to our drink. When the drink is fermented, it comes in a 100% glass bottle. It's a 100 ml bottle, which means you open it once, you drink it. You don't have to store it again. Because you're not storing it the second time, you don't need to use preservatives. That is why the product is completely preservative free. It's open, use, and throw. There is no concept of preservatives involved at all. With anybody with severe gastritis, do not purchase it. Speak to our experts first. Send your reports on our WhatsApp number. I'm sharing my WhatsApp number over here. You can share, just a moment. There you go. If you are going through that process, and you have a serious medical condition, ulcerative colitis, ulcer, etc., just message. And somebody from my team will help you out and we'll tell you if the drink is helpful to you or not going to be helpful to you. Why waste your money otherwise? Somebody's asked about enema or castor oil. Let me explain what castor oil does. Castor oil is like taking a massive rod and pushing it through a pipe to clean it of kachra. You are just pushing something out of the system. You're not actually improving gut health at all. You're just moving kachra out of the system. And the reason it doesn't work, the reason it's really pointless, is because the moment you've actually moved something out of the system, it will get clogged one more time. You've not fixed the problem. You've just cleaned it. And that is why I don't believe in enemas. or rather castor oil at least. It's just a laxative. Enema is a different case altogether. If you're doing it with an Ayurvedic practitioner, it's called bhasti. And that is the one that I think it's recommended from a medical standpoint. And actual enema, I'm not very convinced about the process or procedure just yet. And so if it was me, I wouldn't do it. If you're trying it, I recommend you do your research once before you go forward. All right, somebody's asked, does trekking or exercise impact gut bacteria? Of course. Exercise is incredible for gut bacteria. Exercising outdoors is even better. Because believe it or not, when they did research, they found that kids that spend time outdoors have richer gut bacteria than kids that spend time indoors. Because just like you, everything has gut bacteria. Everything has bacteria rather. Plants have bacteria, soil has bacteria, air has bacteria. So if you go outside, those things start to come into your body as well. And that also increases diversity. That's why today, parents who have kids that play in the dirt, etc., they typically fall sick less because their gut bacteria is stronger and their body is used to that sort of abuse. So exercise is great. Exercising outdoors is even better. How does liquor affect gut bacteria? You already know the answer. I mean, there is no, that excess of anything is horrible. Alcohol makes it worse as well. But liquor, in my opinion, affects gut bacteria in a slightly reverse manner. Alcohol or ethanol from liquor. So if you look at beer, it'll have 8%. What is 8%? It's the ethanol content, right? Or whiskey has, let's say, 40%. What is 40%? It's the ethanol content. So when you drink, 40% of that drink, that's ethanol, goes into your blood. That goes into your liver. Your liver freaks out and tries to remove it immediately through different toxins. When it's removing it, the toxins affect your gut bacteria. So it's a reverse process. It affects not just your liver, but also your gut. Can anybody who has kidney stone have it? I'm assuming you're recommending the drink that I'm talking about. If you are a CKD or a chronic kidney disease patient, again, message on the number I gave you, 90825. I'm writing it one more time, 90166, just message. And one of us will help you out and only then you go forward. Can Crohn's disease be better managed with diet? Very specific question. Answer is yes, it can be better managed, not with this diet. You need to have a very specific diet for Crohn's disease. That's different. All right. Moving on to consumption of sugar for tea and coffee. Sugar is bad. I mean, there's no question about it. You can have natural sugar, you can have refined sugar. Sugar in and of itself, the amount that we eat is insane. It's incredible. As much as possible, try to reduce it. It doesn't do much help for gut bacteria in the first place. All right, very good question, right? So why does, the question is around farting, right? Why do some farts smell a lot and why do others smell less? So I've actually made a completely separate video on this subject. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to share that link of the video in the chat box, right? So I've shared a YouTube link of a 9-minute video I've made explaining the different types of farts to help you understand what your particular type is reflecting about your body. Take a look, click on the link, and you'll find a lot of other links to our YouTube channel as well. Subscribe if you think this is valuable information. I would really like it if you do. And tell me how much it makes a difference to you. Somebody's asking, can I buy Baidyanath Kalmeg? So Kalmeg bitters is not a Kalmeg drink. It's not a combination of just Kalmeg. It's a combination of 8 ingredients which are fermented to create 300 plus nutrients. You don't get that in a drink which is only Kalmeg. So Baidyanath Kalmeg is not what we are selling. And that is not the product which might have the same effects as this. It's a very different drink. It's a very different product, and it's a very different philosophy. One more time, I'm just going to be sharing for everybody that's missed it, because I'm still, for some reason, getting questions around the product. I've just shared this one more time on the chat. If you have questions, you can go there. You'll also see a WhatsApp button on the website. You can click and, of course, get to know a lot more about it. I'm quickly running up. Does eating organic or inorganic impact these bacteria differently? What a fantastic question. So, they did a study and they noticed that inorganic and organic food normally have the same number of micronutrients and macronutrients. So for example, carbs, proteins, fats, there's not much difference. But in some micronutrients and in many bioactives, which means secondary nutrients, the difference is massive. Interestingly, gut bacteria eat those nutrients only. So rather organic foods typically have a much better result on gut bacteria than inorganic food. But I'll take it a step further. Organic food in season is even better for gut bacteria because in season, the conditions are such that food becomes even richer. If you eat strawberries out of season versus strawberries in season, there is a difference in the nutrition of that strawberry. So as much as possible, eat organic, eat local, eat seasonal. It will be wonderful for your gut bacteria. All right. Sorry, I think Shreesh is asking the question again. It says calmic tonic for liver health. Exactly, right? It's designed for the liver, not for the gut, which is very different. Your gut bacteria are in your colon, not in your liver. So one does not affect the other. Okay, what is gut bacteria? All right, so I think we've had just a more simple question. When you eat food, some food goes into your body. The food that your body cannot digest, it goes to the bacteria in your gut. There are some good bacteria, there are some bad bacteria. But these bacteria eat your food and then they produce different compounds that go into your blood, go to your brain and affect your entire mental well-being. That's the essence of what I mean when I say gut bacteria. All right.
Have a raised hand.
Go ahead.
Okay, Shrupa, if you can hear me, you can unmute yourself. You can ask your question. And also, we have Pavani Shankar. If you can hear me, please unmute yourself. You can ask your question directly to Harsh.
If you're not being able to unmute yourselves, then I recommend you just put your question in the chat box. I've tried to answer as many as I can, as fast as I can, so that nobody feels like they've been left out.
Rupa and Bhavani, are you there?
I'm going to quickly, I see a couple of questions that have come to me again directly as questions. All right, so functional medicine. Just you'll have to give me a little bit more of the questions, but I'll be able to answer it. In the meantime, I've got a very interesting question. Somebody's asked me, if you eat rice 3 times a day, is that good or bad for gut bacteria? Now, let me give you some perspective. Rice contains starch. There are 2 types of starch. One type of starch, your body can break down. One type of starch, your body cannot break down. Every rice is a combination of these 2 types. Basmati rice has a lot more of the starch that your body cannot break down. Matlab, basmati rice, your gut bacteria can eat. But Japanese rice, the fluffy rice that you get, that your body can break down. So fluffy rice goes into your body. So I'll say this again. Thin rice, good for bacteria. Fat rice, good for sugar. It goes into your body. Now, if you're eating rice 3 times a day, it means that there are too many carbs going into your body. Now, depending on what type of rice that is, some of that will be going to your gut bacteria. But the problem remains the same, that you're only giving your bacteria one type of food, rice. You need to give it diversity. So from that perspective, yes, if you're eating rice 3 times a day, it's not about changing rice, don't stop it. Reduce the rice portion, increase the vegetable portion, and see what difference it makes to you. Does that make sense? All right. Super. All right, I'm waiting. Any other questions that I can answer? I can still see there are a lot of people who are still on the chat. It is very heartwarming that you've been so attentive and engaged all throughout. I am genuinely very impressed. And I want to say thank you as well for being there with me throughout. I can imagine that it's a hot Friday afternoon and a lot of people might be feeling sleepy. So I just hope that you've gotten some value out of the session today.
And Harsh, we have a question in the chat box.
Yeah, I can see the mutton and leaky.
Hina is asking, what use is Ashokaris syrup and benefits?
So I'm not going to talk about any specific type of product because I think each one has their own indication, explanation, etc. But whoever is making that particular product, if it's an Ashokarist, for example, look at the contraindications, the indications, and then make your decision once. All right. If you've got kids that are getting sick very frequently, this is a great question. Increase their diversity. This is the simplest way to fix this. The simplest way to fix this. Just increase their diversity. They will feel more energetic, less tired. You will see them grow better. Their face will be, with less acne. You will not believe the difference that this particular thing, the one I've recommended to you right now, will make to your children. It will change the game entirely. You won't need things like Chyawanprash or calcium sandoz or anything else that we typically give to kids now. Just increase diversity, focus on natural, and build their gut bacteria. Every day, check how many things your kid has eaten. Is it 10? Make it 12 the next day. If it's 12, make it 15 the next day. If it's 15, make it 20 the next day. The kid himself or herself will start to want more fruits and vegetables. The sugar cravings will come down. He'll start to feel a little disgusted when he sees, different types of drinks. These are all the changes that good gut bacteria can make. I know when I'm saying it, it sounds too good to be true. Sometimes it feels like, how is this possible? But I've looked at patients one-on-one for 5 years. I've seen some of the most incredible things happen with the simplest of changes. All I'm saying is try to implement this for yourself and see where it goes or where it takes you. You might be so surprised with the result. Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Eat plant in paste mode. It's absolutely no issue. As long as it's the whole plant. Don't filter it out and make a juice and drink it because then the fiber has only gone away. Eat it in paste mode, not an issue, not a problem. Eggs, absolutely. You can eat weekly. There's no impact over there. How does gut help in immune system? I've just mentioned that. Does the drink help with leaky gut? There are 4 different types of leaky gut. And you need to first know whether you have leaky gut or not, because leaky gut diagnosis is also so expensive. But yes, if you're working with the right practitioner and right diet, then the drink will be one component to help you with your leaky gut. It will not be the whole thing. It will not be a solution for leaky gut. It will be one component out of your entire tool set to improve your gut health. I hope that answers that question. All right, I think Rupaji still has a question. If your hand is raised, feel free to ask. Okay, a couple of other questions I'm seeing, right? One is, cooked vegetables also be helpful in gut health? Answer is absolutely. Don't overcook them. You want to leave some nutrition inside them, but it will be helpful in gut health. Is having plant-based tablets or drinking powders helpful? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. These tablets are useless when it comes to gut health management. And the reason is because everything that is useful in the actual full plant has been stripped out in the tablet to give it better shelf life. So I would not recommend it. How does wheatgrass juice help kids? It's incredible. It's very good. There's a lot of different nutrients that you get. So if your kid is having wheatgrass juice, continue it. I think by all means, it's a very good option. For people who work in shifts and keep changing, what is your main suggestion to maintain gut health? Rakeshji, it's hard. Even people who come to us at HUGG to help them with their gut health, when they work in shifts, we don't have a solution for them. Because if you're sleeping when you should be awake and you're awake when you should be sleeping, when your whole timings are switched, nothing we do can improve your gut health. Nothing. You have to fix that problem first. So if you're a shift worker, unfortunately, I don't have a solution for you today. And I'm not sure if there are many things you can change except the shift timings itself before anything shows results on your body. Can we eat wheatgrass juice? Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Wheatgrass juice is incredible. You should absolutely have it. Any link between fasting and gut health? All right, very interesting question. So the answer is yes. Food takes 16 hours in your body, typically to go from mouth to your anus. And if your digestion is slow, it'll take 20, 22 hours. Which means if you think about it, Every meal you eat, your digestion is always active. Now imagine a machine is active all the time, literally every day, every hour, even when you are sleeping. There is bound to be some trouble. And so fasting acts as a break for that. Now that break has multiple consequences. It helps with clearance of materials. So the old stuff can actually leave the system once. The system gets rest. And more interestingly, from a gut bacteria perspective, it changes the outcome. So I'm going to show you the difference between fasting and non-fasting. I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so there are multiple posts I've made. I'm going to share one of those links with you shortly. But in the meantime, there's another link on my blog. I've shared that as well. You can click on that once and you'll be able to find out the answer to your current question. How does fasting affect gut bacteria? All right. What is the difference between mango leaf tonic and calming bitters? Super question. Mango leaf tonic is designed for diabetics. Gut health does not just affect the mind, it also affects your blood sugar. And mango leaf tonic contains the ingredients that we believe help your gut improve to reduce your blood sugar levels. So if you are a diabetic, take mango leaf tonic. If you have a anxiety, loose stool, sticky stool, bloating problem, take calming bitters. So that's the difference between the two. Calming bitters is for your stomach and mango leaf tonic is for blood sugar. Completely different. All right, how much milk is good for the gut, and is there any limit to how long it should be boiled? On the boiling point, no. On is it good for the gut? It depends. For some people, they respond very well. For other people, they don't. Milk contains lactose. It's a particular type of sugar that your gut bacteria eat. Lactose is not bad. It's not harmful for you. But some people feel very gassy if they eat too much lactose, they drink too much milk. So the way to drink milk is you need to find your own limit. हर किसी का एक लिमिट रहता है. Let's say कि आपने आधा ग्लास पिया, bloating नहीं हुआ, you can drink half glass. आपने एक ग्लास पिया, bloating हुआ, then reduce the quantity. आपको आपकी threshold पकड़नी पड़ेगी. To find out what is your limit. एक बार आपने आपका limit पकड़ लिया, then you can continue consumption at that rate. I hope that makes sense from a milk standpoint. I'm also, because somebody has just messaged, they want to know more about the mango leaf tonic. So I'm just sharing another link right now in the chat box, which will give you a sense of the mango leaf tonic. All right, super. Another quick request again for the phone number. I've shared our WhatsApp number. You will not get incoming calls on that. So if there's any WhatsApp number, you can just, if you have any particular query that's specific to you, I saw Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, CKD patients, etc., gastritis, just message on the number and one of us from our team will get back in touch with you and we'll help you in understanding how you can improve your gut health, either with us or without us. All right. Superb. I think that's the last question that I'm currently seeing in the chat. Can intermittent fasting help to improve gut health? I've just answered that slightly in the past, that fasting is definitely helpful for gut health. How it helps in gut health, I want you to run through a couple of blogs on my main blog newsletter. You will find the answer to the question because it's a very, very big answer. I'm sharing the link one more time of the blog so that it's easy for you to actually access. All right. Venkatesh, anything else that you want to lead through from the webinar right now?
Yeah, I think we are good to go. And do you have anything to share more, or shall we end the webinar?
Okay. Can you transport to Germany or London? Well, not yet. We've just started in the US, but we're trying to get abroad as fast as possible. All right. So I'm going to conclude my session here today. Like I said, it's incredible to have people with us for almost an hour and a half talking about what I believe is a really fascinating subject. I've spent, like I said, almost half a decade. And I'm convinced that I'm probably going to spend the next 20, 25 years just figuring out more about gut health. Because the outcomes that we thought were not possible with regular medicine, we are being able to deliver by improving gut health. It could be things like ADHD in children, to toxicity in adults, to even arthritis. Gut health is making a difference on every aspect across the spectrum. And that is why it is such an exciting field of study for me personally and for the entire company that we've built. So if you want to start improving your gut health and you're very, very keen on making changes in your life that will make your productivity better, your focus better, and your happiness more basically, then I recommend that you can reach out to us, just general advice, or continue following some of our videos that we launch on YouTube to keeping yourself up to date on the most advanced knowledge on gut health that you can use in your day-to-day lives. I'm sharing one more time quickly my WhatsApp number, and I'm also just sharing the link of the newsletter. I want you to sign up, subscribe, tell me, ask me questions. You'll have access to my direct email ID, and I'm happy to answer as many as I can whenever I have the time. All right, super. That's it from my side, Venkatesh. I think you've been a wonderful audience. Thank you so, so much. And I hope to see most of you back one more time. Thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Harsh, for the wonderful presentation and many incredible things that you have shared with us. And there are many key takeaways from the session that we have to take. And I thank all the audience today for joining us. Once again, thank you so much, Harsh, for wonderful inputs that you have given. And we look forward for many more from your end. And that's all for the end. Thank you all.
Super. Thank you so much.